The jungle of Vietnam is not a place built for human survival. It breathes, it moves, and it swallows the unprepared without hesitation. Heat presses against the skin like a burning hand. Moisture clings to every surface. Insects pierce through clothing. Every sound carries a threat. Every shadow hides something that can kill. And somewhere inside this living maze, a wounded soldier opens his eyes, alone, disoriented, and already fighting for his life. He does not know how far the enemy is. He does not know if his own unit believes he is still alive. What he does know is that the jungle is watching him, and it will not make space for him. His heart pounds. His breathing is shallow. He tries to move, but pain shoots through his ribs, his legs, and his back. He realizes he cannot walk. He will have to crawl. Before he gathers the strength to push forward, think about this for a moment. Imagine waking up in a hostile land with no weapon, no food, no water, no sense of direction, and no guarantee that rescue is even possible. Imagine knowing that armed soldiers are searching for you, and that if they find you, they will kill you without hesitation. Now ask yourself, could you survive this? Could you stay calm enough to think? Could you accept the pain, the fear, the thirst, the hunger, and still force your body to move? The soldier drags himself forward. The earth is uneven and sharp. Roots scrape his skin. Stones cut into his arms. The jungle floor is soaked, muddy, and alive with insects. Every meter feels like a battle. The heat drains his strength. The air is thick, making every breath feel like inhaling water. He does not have the luxury of standing or walking. Crawling is his only option. He hears distant voices, foreign, alert, searching. He stops breathing. He presses himself against the ground, using the jungle's scent to mask his own. The voices fade, but the danger does not. He continues moving. Hours pass. The sky darkens. The jungle at night becomes a different world. Temperature drops. Sounds grow louder. Animals hunt. The soldier does not rest. He cannot. Rest means death. Stopping means being found. He forces himself onward, inch by inch. Hunger gnaws at him. Thirst burns his throat. He licks droplets from leaves. He gathers strength from anything he can. Pain becomes constant. Fear becomes routine. Still, he crawls. He must reach American lines. He must push through this labyrinth of vines, roots, insects, and darkness. He loses track of time. He loses track of distance. Only the motion remains. Push forward, pull forward, breathe. Do not stop. He slips into mud. He drags himself back out. He crawls through thorn bushes. He forces his body across fallen logs. The jungle tears at him, but he continues. Determination becomes his only weapon. And here is the astonishing part. This soldier, alone and broken, will crawl more than 25 miles through one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. No guide, no food, no map. Nothing but willpower and instinct. A journey the average person would not survive even with equipment. So before we move deeper into this story, ask yourself again, if you woke up wounded, hunted, and abandoned in the middle of the Vietnamese jungle, would you have the strength to keep moving? Could you push your body beyond exhaustion, beyond pain, beyond fear, long enough to reach safety? This is the story of the man who did. The jungle does not care about courage or determination. It tests both without mercy. As the soldier begins his desperate crawl, he realizes that survival will depend on decisions made minute by minute. Pain is constant, but pain is not his biggest threat. Dehydration, infection, venomous insects, and enemy patrols all compete to end his journey before it begins. He drags himself across roots that twist like cables. Each movement sends shocks through his injured legs. His hands sink into mud so thick it feels alive. Ants bite his arms. Mosquitoes swarm his face. Sweat pours into his eyes, yet he forces himself forward, knowing that stopping, even briefly, will allow fear to take control. He cannot afford fear. He needs focus. Every sound in the jungle has meaning. A snapping branch could be an animal or a footstep. A rustling leaf could be wind or a soldier adjusting his weapon. The soldier listens more than he moves. Listening becomes survival. He waits for moments of silence before dragging himself ahead. The jungle's constant noise becomes a strange ally, masking his movement and confusing anyone searching for him. Hours pass. Time stretches. He no longer thinks in miles or hours, but in small goals. Reach that tree. Reach that shadow. Reach that patch of light. Small victories add up, keeping his mind active and preventing panic. He knows that panic kills faster than bullets. As he crawls deeper into the jungle, the canopy thickens, blocking the sun. The air becomes heavier, darker, harder to breathe. He wipes his eyes with a shaking hand. Thirst claws at him. His throat is dry. His lips crack. He searches for anything that can give him moisture. He squeezes water from a broad leaf into his mouth. It tastes of dirt and insects, but it keeps him alive. Suddenly, voices echo through the trees. Close, too close. He freezes. He presses his face into the earth, barely breathing. Boots move across the ground nearby. Leaves rustle. A weapon clicks. The enemy is searching. They know someone survived the crash. They know he is wounded. They are sweeping the area with precision. He stays motionless, counting seconds in his head. 10, 20, 30, a minute, 2 minutes. Then disappear. He waits longer, resisting the urge to move too soon. Patience feels like torture, but it saves his life. When he finally resumes crawling, he feels weaker. His arms tremble, his vision blurs. Each movement becomes slower, heavier. His injuries worsen, the jungle floor cuts into open wounds. Infection begins to set in, but he pushes the thought away. He cannot treat anything now. He must keep moving. Night approaches. The sky darkens. The sounds of the jungle intensify. Creatures begin their nightly hunt. He hears distant roars and high-pitched cries. The soldier understands that the night will be harder than the day. He needs cover somewhere to remain hidden until sunrise. He spots a fallen tree, hollow inside. It is small, but deep enough to conceal him. He crawls inside slowly, ignoring the insects crawling over his skin. He settles into the darkness, holding his breath as distant footsteps return. A flashlight beam sweeps across the forest floor, stopping inches from where he hides. His heartbeat feels louder than the jungle. The beam moves on. Voices fade again. He is still alive, but dawn is hours away. And when the sun rises, he must continue the impossible journey. He knows that tomorrow he will crawl again, and the day after that, and the day after that, until his body gives out until he reaches safety. The jungle has accepted its challenge. Now he must survive it. Night in the jungle is not darkness. It is a living presence. It moves, breathes, whispers. As the soldier lies hidden inside the hollow tree, he feels the weight of the wild pressing against him from all directions. Every sound is sharper. Every vibration is clearer. His senses are stretched to their limit, forcing him into a state between fear and awareness. The temperature drops. His body trembles. His injured legs pulse with steady pain, each heartbeat sending a dull burn through his muscles. He bites down to prevent himself from groaning. Noise attracts attention. Noise means death. Silence becomes his only defense. The jungle begins its nightly symphony. Insects hum like distant machinery. Frogs croak with rhythmic intensity. Wings flutter close to his face. Something crawls across his chest. He doesn't move. He cannot see it, but he knows reacting would make the situation worse. Survival requires control. Control over breath, control over panic, control over instinct. Through the hollow of the fallen tree, he watches faint beams of moonlight filtering through the leaves. Shadows stretch and shift in unpredictable shapes. The jungle seems to rearrange itself every few minutes, as if testing his ability to distinguish danger from imagination. Then comes the sound he feared. Boots. Slow, deliberate, multiple footsteps, closing in from the direction he crawled earlier. The enemy continues their search. They are patient, organized, and confident that the wounded soldier cannot have gone far. They speak in low tones, their voices soaked in determination. The soldier presses deeper into the tree trunk, making himself smaller. His breathing becomes almost imperceptible. Sweat rolls down his forehead and drips into the dirt. The searchlight appears again, slicing the darkness with a white beam. It scans the ground methodically, inch by inch. The beam stops near the tree. His heart slams against his ribs. He silently prays that the darkness of the hollow remains untouched. Moments stretch into eternity. Finally, the footsteps shift direction. The voices fade. The light disappears. He waits longer than necessary, knowing impatience has killed more soldiers than enemy fire. Only when the forest returns to its natural rhythm does he allow himself to exhale. But the night is far from over. Hunger settles into his stomach like a stone. His body needs energy, but he has nothing. No food, no clean water, no gear, only sheer will. He closes his eyes and listens to the environment, searching for anything helpful: water, movement, landmarks, even in exhaustion. He knows the jungle provides clues for those willing to hear them. Hours pass. The pain in his legs intensifies. His arms feel swollen. The humidity suffocates him. Sleep becomes a threat rather than a comfort. If he sleeps too deeply, he may not wake. If he moves in his sleep, he may expose his hiding place. He forces himself to remain conscious, drifting just above the edge of exhaustion. A distant animal cry echoes through the trees, followed by another and another. Predators are active now, big ones. He feels vibrations in the ground as something large walks nearby. He steadies his breath again, knowing that animals, unlike soldiers, search with instinct, not logic. If it smells weakness, it will follow it. Minutes feel like hours. Hours feel like days. Finally, the darkness begins to thin. A faint gray light creeps across the canopy. Dawn is coming. The soldier blinks slowly, trying to gather the strength to move again. His body protests. His mind argues. But he knows the jungle does not wait, and daylight is the only window he has to gain distance before the next patrol. He pushes himself out of the hollow tree, dragging his weight through the damp earth. Every movement feels heavier than the last. But the morning air, thick and warm, brings a small surge of determination. He survived the night, but survival is only the beginning. The moment the sun breaks through the leaves, the jungle reveals a new challenge, one even more dangerous than darkness. A challenge waiting for him just ahead. The sun rises slowly, warming the still damp jungle. After a terrifying night in the hollow tree, the soldier feels every muscle protesting. His injured legs burn, and fatigue envelops him like an invisible weight. But as the morning light filters through the leaves, the jungle reveals a different face, less menacing, more legible. He crawls forward, propelled by the strength of his arms. Every inch gained is a battle. The vegetation opens before him into a labyrinth of vines, mud, and roots. His objective is clear: to get as far away as possible from the enemy search area before they resume their patrols. Suddenly, a sound catches his attention. It's not an animal. It's not a human voice. It's the sound of water, steady, constant. The sound of a stream. For someone on the run, water means more than a lifeline. It's a natural route, a trail that conceals the tracks. Help, but also danger. He cautiously approaches the source of the noise. The leaves become denser, the ground more slippery. Then, finally, he sees it. A small river winding between rocks and roots. The water is clear, lively, almost hypnotic. He hasn't drunk for hours. His throat is dry. His mind races. Yet he knows that drinking too quickly can be fatal. The jungle never offers anything without conditions. He brings his hands to the water, fills his palms, and takes small sips. The cold water seems to awaken his spirit. He breathes deeply. A glimmer of hope rekindles. He scans his surroundings. The river flows down into a denser valley. It could lead him to safety. It could also bring him closer to other dangers. But the alternative would be to push on through the thick vegetation, leaving behind a trail of crushed leaves and traces of blood, a gift for his pursuers. The river is treacherous, but it offers natural cover. He has no choice. He wades into the water up to his waist, despite the sharp pain shooting through his legs. The current is weak but steady enough to erase all trace of his passage. He moves slowly, using the rocks for support, breathing deeply to stay calm. The sound of the water masks his movements, a rare protection. After about 10 minutes, something changes in the air. A sudden silence, a heavy silence. He stops and listens. No birds, no insects, nothing. This kind of silence means only one thing: he is not alone. He presses himself against a rock, letting the water envelop him. Through the branches, he glimpses figures. The uniforms are recognizable. His pursuers, they advance along the bank, weapons at the ready, scanning the area. Their method is ruthless. They're calm, almost unsettling. One of the soldiers kneels. He studies the mud intently. Then he shakes his head. No footsteps, nothing. The river has done its work. They discuss amongst themselves, searching for a direction. One suggests going upstream. The other suggests heading towards the valley. They hesitate. A single wrong choice could lead them away from him forever. The soldier holds his breath. His heart is pounding so hard he fears his chest will make the water vibrate. Finally, the figures separate into two groups. One goes upstream, the other plunges into the forest. Neither looks towards the center of the river. Neither suspects he is less than 10 meters from them. When their footsteps finally disappear, he remains motionless for several minutes. Then he slowly resumes his progress through the water. His arms tremble. The fatigue becomes overwhelming, but he continues. Then, something catches his eye. Around a bend in the river, traces of civilization. A piece of cloth caught on a branch, a fragment of rusted metal, marks on a tree trunk. These are not signs of the enemy. They are signs left by someone else. Perhaps a scout, perhaps another soldier, perhaps a survivor. A tenuous thread of hope flickers through his mind. For the first time since his fall, he tells himself that he might not be alone in this vast jungle. But he does not yet know that following these traces will lead him to something far more complex than the enemy, something much older. The river widens and its waters become slower, almost silent, as if the jungle were holding its breath. The soldier presses on, using a branch for support. The pain in his leg doesn't subside. It throbs, it burns, but his mind remains fixed on a single thought: survival. The traces he spotted earlier return to haunt him. The fabric caught on a branch, the marks on the trunk. These signs don't resemble those left by an American unit. They are too discreet, too organized, too ancient. As he moves further along the riverbed, the landscape subtly changes. The vegetation becomes more orderly, as if someone were tending this place. The branches look trimmed. The ground around the bank seems less wild. It's almost imperceptible, but enough to awaken his instincts. After a few more minutes of effort, he spots a detail that freezes him in his tracks. A bridge. A simple bamboo bridge. So thin, it seems to float above the water. It's barely wider than a tree trunk, but it's clearly man-made. It doesn't lead to any visible path. It disappears between the trunks, invisible from the outside, intentionally hidden. His heart races. If there's a bridge, there are people. And where there are people, there might be help. Or a trap. He hesitates. His fingers tighten on the branch. But continuing alone through the jungle is no longer an option. His body is reaching its limits. A wrong choice now could cost him his life. So he leaves the river and slowly climbs onto the bank. Every movement is an ordeal. His leg barely bends. The mud sinks in, but he advances, inch by inch, until he reaches the bridge. As he approaches, he senses something else. Voices soft, murmured a language he doesn't immediately recognize. The sound comes from the other side, behind the foliage. He holds his breath and watches. Through the leaves, he makes out slender figures moving slowly. Human shadows. Light smoke rises from a fire. The smell of cooked rice hangs in the air. It's a village, a hidden village, camouflaged by generations of inhabitants to escape the war. Unknown to maps, invisible to the soldiers, his heart beats fast. He knows he can't turn back now. He takes a step forward, then another, leaning on his branch. But suddenly a crack. An arrow bursts and lodges in the trunk right next to his head. Instinctively, he raises his hands. His legs tremble. His breathing quickens. From the shadows, about 10 villagers emerge. Men, women, teenagers, armed with spears, bows, and machetes. Their faces show neither anger nor fear, just a cautious hardness, a vigilance forged by survival. One of them steps forward. The oldest, his skin is marked by the years. His eyes are dark, but not hostile. He observes the soldier, then his torn uniform, then his wounded leg. A long silence, heavy as the jungle. Then, in a calm, almost composed voice, he says a few words in a dialect the soldier doesn't understand. But he understands his tone. It's not a threat, it's a question. The soldier opens his mouth, but no sound comes out. Fatigue overwhelms him all at once. His strength abandons him. He collapses to his knees. The old villager watches him without moving. Then, slowly, he waves. 2 young men approach, carefully lift him, and carry him toward the village. He doesn't resist. He can't anymore. As his eyes close, he sees wooden houses, children watching timidly, gardens carefully tended. It's not a military post. It's not an enemy camp. It's a refuge, a miracle in the heart of the jungle. His thoughts become muddled. His vision blurs. But before losing consciousness, an idea strikes his mind with the force of a lightning bolt. If they survive the war, perhaps they can teach him how to survive too. When he regains consciousness, the soldier is no longer on the riverbank. He is no longer in the scorching jungle. He is lying inside a small bamboo hut, lit by a soft light filtering through woven leaves. The air is warm, but more breathable. He smells of crushed plants, light smoke, and damp earth. He tries to move, but a wave of pain shoots through his leg. He stifles a cry and clenches his teeth. Then he notices something. His wound is bandaged. The bandages are neat, tightly tied. A thick paste covers the most damaged areas. He doesn't know what it is, but everything indicates that someone has worked on him for a long time, with surprising calm and skill. Then he hears a soft sound, like footsteps sliding on an earthen floor. A figure leans toward him. It is a middle-aged woman. Her hair is tied in a tight bun, and her hands still bear the color of the medicinal plants she used. She watches him without a word, her eyes filled with quiet wisdom. She brings a gourd to his lips. He drinks. The water is lukewarm, but pure. He feels his mind clear. The pain doesn't disappear, but it becomes bearable. A sign that someone has applied a powerful remedy. He wants to speak, to ask where he is, to ask who she is, but no words come out. His throat is too dry, his body too weak. The woman then places a hand on his shoulder. A simple gesture, but one that conveys an essential message. He is safe. For now. She steps away, and a few moments later, a man enters the hut. His face is marked by the years, but his movements are slow and deliberate. It was the same man who earlier had watched him from the other side of the bridge. He crouched down beside the soldier and studied his face. No judgment, no fear, no aggression, just a silent assessment, as if he were trying to understand not who he was, but what he carried within him. Suffering, exhaustion, courage, or something else. He spoke a few words in his dialect. The soldier didn't understand, but his tone was neutral. The old man then pointed to his leg, then gestured toward his own heart, then toward the sky. A simple, almost universal message. You survived, but it wasn't guaranteed. And you're not out of the woods yet. Hours passed, perhaps days. The soldier lost track. At times, he dozed. At times, he woke with a start, thinking he heard gunfire, explosions, enemy voices. But each time, the same reality returns. The hut, the warmth, the medicinal plants, and the woman watching over him. She never speaks. She acts. She changes the bandages. She prepares new compresses. She breathes gently to soothe the pain. She monitors his pulse with astonishing concentration. Little by little, something happens. His mind, until then frozen in the logic of war, begins to calm. Not completely, not yet, but enough for him to realize a simple truth. These people are not his enemies. They may not be his allies either, but they have chosen to save him. One night, as the jungle outside roars with nocturnal animals, the soldier opens his eyes and sees the old man sitting cross-legged beside him, motionless, as if meditating. The old man gazes at him, then gently offers a small cup filled with a dark liquid. The soldier hesitates, then he drinks. The taste is bitter, almost shocking. A shiver runs down his spine, and a few seconds later, a diffuse warmth spreads through his body. The pain subsides further. His breathing becomes deeper. He then understands what is happening. He is being treated, truly treated, not just stabilized, not just kept alive, but treated to heal, to rise again. The old man then places a hand on the soldier's heart, closes his eyes, and utters a single word that he understands immediately, even without speaking the language. Courage. In this hut lost in the middle of the Vietnamese jungle, the soldier realizes a startling truth. He may have found here what he had never found in his unit, a form of respect, a form of humanity, a second chance. But he also knows that this fragile piece is only a parenthesis. The jungle hasn't forgotten that it wants his life. The enemies haven't stopped searching for him, and sooner or later, he will have to leave this refuge. For now, he closes his eyes. He breathes, he lets himself drift between life and what he could have become. Morning arrives slowly in the jungle. Light filters through the gaps in the bamboo walls, painting soft lines across the soldier's face. The sounds outside are calmer, now distant birds, rustling leaves, a river flowing somewhere not too far away. For the first time since the ambush, the world feels almost peaceful, but the peace doesn't last. He tries to shift his weight, and a sharp pain fires through his leg, not the chaos of before, but a reminder, a warning. He is healing, but far from healed. He takes a slow breath and looks down. His leg is wrapped in fresh bandages, clean, tight, carefully maintained. The work of someone who not only cared but knew exactly what they were doing. He hears footsteps and turns his head. The older man enters the hut, calm, focused. He carries a wooden staff and stands at the soldier's bedside. No words, only a gesture. He taps the staff on the ground once. Then he points at the soldier's leg. Then at the door. The message is clear. Today, you stand. A cold wave of fear washes over him. Standing feels impossible, unthinkable. His body is still weak. His mind is still drifting in and out of clarity. But the old man doesn't blink, doesn't soften. He simply waits. The staff in his hand like a silent command. The soldier pushes himself upright. His arms tremble. His breath shakes. Sweat runs down his temples. For a moment, he thinks he's going to pass out. But he doesn't. He plants his good foot on the ground. The old man steps forward and holds out the staff. The soldier hesitates. Then he reaches for it. The wood feels solid, warm, almost alive. He leans on it and tries to rise. His broken leg screams in protest. The world blurs for a moment, but the old man places a single steadying hand on his shoulder, grounding him. Again, the soldier tries. This time, he gets halfway up. The pain is immense, deep, bone deep, but he stays upright, barely. The old man nods once, a small approval. Not praise, not comfort, just recognition. Then he steps back, leaving the soldier to hold himself up alone. For several long seconds, the soldier stands. His breath is heavy, his heart is pounding. The entire weight of his body presses down on a leg that should not be supporting anything. But he does it. And in that moment, something changes. Something internal. Something invisible. He is no longer a broken body lying in a stranger's hut. He is a man fighting his way back into the world. After a few seconds, his strength gives out and he collapses back onto the bedding. The pain is sharp enough to make him clench his teeth, but he is not ashamed. The old man simply nods again, as if to say, "Good, now do it again tomorrow." He leaves the hut, letting the bamboo curtain fall behind him. The soldier lies back, staring at the ceiling, his chest rising and falling. A quiet realization forms within him, slow but undeniable. This was not an exercise in strength. It was a test, and he passed the first part. Outside he hears the woman preparing more herbs. He hears the jungle moving, alive and unpredictable. He hears the river flowing, a reminder of the miles he still needs to cover when the time comes. But for now, he closes his eyes and breathes deeply. He has stood, and that means he can stand again. Tomorrow will hurt, tomorrow will challenge him, tomorrow will demand more than today ever did. But tomorrow, he will rise. Days pass, though the soldier never knows exactly how many. Time in the jungle has no rhythm, no clocks, no schedule, only sunlight through leaves, the crackle of fire, and the quiet steps of the villagers as they move around him. Every morning the old man enters the hut without a word. Every morning he taps the wooden staff on the floor. Every morning, the message is the same. Stand. The soldier lifts himself up, piece by piece, his good leg bracing, his arms trembling, his broken leg wrapped tight, throbbing with pressure. The first attempt each day always hurts the most. A deep pain that digs into bone and muscle and memory. But each time, he forces himself through it. He stands longer, breathes steadier, falls less. Little by little, his body stops fighting him. Muscles begin to wake. Balance returns. The worst pain fades into something he can manage, something familiar. But standing is only the beginning. On the fourth morning, the old man changes the routine. He taps the staff again, not once this time, but twice. Then he walks backward and points to the door. The meaning is unmistakable. Today, you walk. A knot of fear tightens in the soldier's stomach. His leg is healing, but it's still fragile, still weak, still unpredictable. One wrong step could undo everything. But no one in the village shows doubt, not the old man, not the woman who treated his wounds, not the silent hunters who passed the hut on their way to the river. They believe he can walk. So he decides he must try. He grips the staff tightly and pushes himself upright. Sweat forms instantly across his forehead. His injured leg wobbles beneath him. The old man moves closer, not to help, but to watch. The soldier takes the first step. It is small, shaky, unbalanced, then another, and another. Each movement is a negotiation between pain and will. The staff becomes an extension of his arm support, balance, stability. He leans on it heavily, but stays upright. The old man walks just ahead, forcing him to keep moving. Not too fast, not too slow, a steady pace, like marching. The villagers pause in their work to watch, not with pity, but with quiet respect. They've seen wounds, they've seen weakness, but what they are witnessing now is something else. A man rebuilding himself. By the time they reach the clearing, the soldier's entire body is shaking. His breaths are sharp and uneven. He can barely feel his injured leg at a lonely fire, pressure, and exhaustion, but he is still standing. The old man finally steps closer and takes the staff from his hands. For a moment, the soldier panics, his balance wavering, but then the old man hands the staff back, this time with both hands, as if presenting something sacred, a lesson, a promise, a warrior's tool. He nods, once, approval, then he turns and walks away, disappearing into the trees. The soldier stands alone in the clearing, breathing hard. But something inside him has changed again. Not physically, not just in his leg. Something deeper. Something that feels like strength returning from a place he had forgotten. He limps back toward the hut on his own. Slow, but steady. Painful, but controlled. Every step whispers the same message. You are becoming whole again. When he reaches the hut, the woman is waiting with fresh water and herbs. She hands the bowl to him with a small smile. Not triumph, but a quiet acknowledgement. You walked today. He drinks slowly, letting the cool water steady his breath. Outside, the jungle hums with life, the river, the insects, the shifting shadows. Once, these sounds meant danger. Now, they mean something different. They mean he is still here, still alive, still moving forward. Tomorrow the old man will test him again, and the next day, and the next. Each step bringing him closer to what waits outside this village, closer to the world he must return to, closer to the mission he knows is not yet finished. But for today, he rests knowing that the hardest part of healing has already begun. The first rays of morning light revealed the truth his mind had tried to deny. His leg was far worse than he imagined. The swelling had doubled overnight. The skin was tight, discolored, and every pulse of blood felt like a hammer blow from inside the bone. He tried to move his toes, only to respond barely. A sickening realization washed over him. This wasn't just a broken leg. This was a limb on the edge of shutting down entirely. He forced himself upright, gritting his teeth so hard the sound echoed in his skull. The world spun. Sweat broke across his forehead in an instant, but he didn't collapse. Not yet. He dug his elbows into the ground, braced himself, and pushed until he was standing. If standing could describe a man balancing on one leg, shaking, holding onto the air. He took one step. A white flash tore through his vision. Another step, the world dimmed around the edges. He wasn't walking anymore. He was refusing to fall. Every movement felt like punishment. The pain wasn't sharp, now it was deep, primal, radiating in waves that made his vision blur. A voice inside whispered the truth he dreaded. You can't keep this up. The leg is done. You're done. But another voice, quieter yet fiercer, answered back. Then crawl. Drag yourself. But don't stop. He shifted his weight, attempting another step, and felt something inside the leg grind unnaturally. A crunch wet and unmistakable. He nearly blacked out. A second wave of nausea hit him so hard he dropped to one knee. His breathing turned ragged. He tried to stand again, but his body refused. He realized, right there in the dust and silence, that he had reached his true limit. This was the breaking point. Trembling, he rolled onto his stomach. The ground was cold against his cheek. His arms shook as he pressed them into the dirt. Moving forward wasn't walking anymore, it was survival by inches. He dragged himself a few inches, then a foot, then another foot. His elbows took over the work his legs could no longer do. His forearms burned. His palms tore open. Pebbles embedded themselves in his skin. Sweat mixed with dirt until he looked more like part of the landscape than a man. At one point he collapsed fully. No strength left, no breath, no thought, just silence. But in that silence, he imagined faces, his family, his unit, the people who believed in him without needing a reason. And with those faces came a realization. If he stopped now, they would never know how close he got. They would never know he didn't quit. He pushed again. Not because he believed he could make it, but because stopping was no longer an option. Crawling became his new form of locomotion. Slow, brutal, unrelenting. Each pull of his arms was a declaration. I'm still here. By midday, he had covered barely a mile. But that mile felt like a lifetime pain. Grit and willpower wrapped into one impossibly difficult stretch of earth. He was dehydrated. His vision blurred. His thoughts fragmented. But he wasn't dead. And as long as he wasn't dead, he wasn't done. On that agonizing crawl across open terrain, one truth crystallized. A soldier's breaking point isn't where he stops. It's the moment he decides to keep going anyway. For hours, Ronald crawled without knowing where he was heading. The jungle canopy shifted above him like a living ceiling, the light piercing through in broken fragments. His arms felt like dead weight attached to a body that refused to give up. His broken leg dragged behind him like a useless piece of machinery. Every bump sent shockwaves of agony up his spine. But then something changed. A breeze. Cooler, clearer, not the suffocating humidity he had suffered for days. Ronald froze. The air smelled different, too fresh, flowing, alive. He lifted his head with effort and listened. Beneath the endless buzz of insects, beneath the distant echoes of the jungle, he heard something else. Water. A river. That single sound was like a hand reaching out of the darkness. His heart jolted awake. Rivers meant life. Rivers meant pathways. And most importantly, rivers meant people. But that small spark of hope brought a new fear. If he made noise crawling toward it, someone else might hear someone who wasn't friendly. Still, he had no choice. He dragged himself forward again. driven now by instinct. Every pull of his elbows felt like an act of defiance. His fingers dug into dirt, roots, and wet leaves. His arms trembled violently, but he kept going. The sound of rushing water grew louder, closer. He reached the riverbank and collapsed, breathing hard, staring at the shimmering surface. It looked almost unreal, crystal moving, reflecting sunlight like broken glass. He leaned toward it and scooped water with shaking hands, splashing it onto his face. The shock of cold made him gasp. He drank deeply. For a moment, just a moment, he felt alive again. But survival wasn't finished testing him. Movement across the river caught his eye. Shapes, human shapes. At first he thought his mind was inventing them to torture him, hallucinations caused by exhaustion and dehydration. Then he heard voices, real voices, soldiers. His survival instincts flared instantly. Voices in the jungle could mean rescue, or death. Fear gripped him. His heart pounded so hard he felt it in his broken leg. He wasn't strong enough to run, and hiding wasn't an option. He stayed perfectly still, watching the figures move. They weren't wearing the unmistakable dark green uniforms of the Viet Cong. These men moved differently, spoke differently. Their posture wasn't predatory, but alert, cautious, trained, American, allied, or something else. He pushed himself up onto his elbows, gathering every ounce of strength left. His voice had become a ragged whisper, dried by days without proper water. Help! Nothing came out. He tried again, forcing air out of lungs that felt like sandbags. Help! The sound barely crossed the water. The men didn't react. They kept scanning the area. Ronald clenched his fists. This was it. His last chance. His last push. If he failed now, everything he had endured, every mile crawled, every ounce of pain would mean nothing. He dragged himself to a nearby branch and struck it against a fallen log once and twice in disparity, cracking hits that echoed through the clearing. The soldiers turned. One pointed. Another shouted. Ronald tried to raise a hand, but his body gave out. He collapsed face down into the dirt, hearing footsteps rushing toward him. Boots, heavy boots, getting closer. Hands grabbed him firm, strong, lifting him gently. Jesus, he's alive. Get the medic. Stay with us, buddy. Stay with us. Ronald wanted to respond, to say something heroic or clever, but all he managed was a faint exhale. The world dimmed as they carried him. He felt himself being placed onto a stretcher, voices blurred. A helicopter rotor thundered somewhere above. He had made it. Not because he was the strongest, not because he had the best training, but because he refused to stop, not even at the breaking point. His last thought before passing out was simple. I did my part. Now they'll do theirs. And with that, he let go, finally safe after the most brutal journey of his life. When Ronald opened his eyes again, the world around him no longer belonged to the jungle. The suffocating heat, the buzzing insects, the relentless fear all gone. In their place, he heard steady beeping, soft murmurs, and the low hum of machines. White lights glowed above him. For the first time in days, the air felt clean. He realized he was in a medical tent, a real one, with real doctors, real safety. He tried to move, but his body refused. Everything felt heavy, wrapped, secured. His leg was immobilized in a thick cast, reinforced with metal rods. Even breathing felt strange, as if he needed permission from the world to exist again. A medic noticed him stirring and rushed over. "You're awake," the man said, almost stunned. "You're one hell of a fighter." Ronald blinked, struggling to orient himself. "How long? 4, maybe 5 days since we found you?" The medic replied. "You were barely conscious when the team brought you in. Severe infection, dehydration, multiple fractures, shrapnel wounds. Honestly, kid, you should have been dead." Ronald wasn't sure how to respond. He stared at the ceiling as the memories returned. The explosion, the jungle, the crawling, the river, the men who finally saw him. Every moment felt like a movie he barely survived watching. Then footsteps approached, heavy ones, someone important. A high-ranking officer stepped in, his uniform immaculate, his expression unreadable. He studied Ronald quietly, as though trying to solve a puzzle. "So," the officer finally said, "you're the soldier who crawled 25 miles on a shattered leg." Ronald swallowed. "I didn't measure." The officer actually laughed, a short, disbelieving sound. "Doesn't matter. The distance alone is unbelievable. Most men wouldn't have made it 25 yards. He pulled up a chair and sat beside the bed. "When we got the report from the patrol unit that found you, nobody believed it. They thought it had to be a mistake. But then we saw you. Alive. Barely, but alive. Son, you survived conditions that kill even the toughest fighters out here." Ronald didn't feel tough. He felt empty, like the jungle had taken something from him that he wouldn't get back. The officer's voice softened. "You were abandoned by your unit during the ambush. That shouldn't have happened. We're investigating it. But what you did afterward, that's something we're never going to forget." Ronald looked down at his hands, scratched, bruised, scarred from 5 days of using them as legs. "What happened to them?" he asked quietly. "The men who left." The officer hesitated. "They reported you dead." Ronald felt a cold twist in his chest. Not anger, something heavier. Betrayal mixed with disbelief. He had spent those impossible days fighting for a chance his own team had already thrown away. The officer leaned closer. "You're alive because you refused to die," he said. "Because you kept crawling when any sane man would have quit. Stories like yours, they matter." They remind us what survival really looks like. Doctors returned to check his vitals, but the officer placed a hand on Ronald's arm before leaving. "Rest now. You earned that much. There will be time for questions later." As the tent quieted again, Ronald stared at the ceiling, listening to the steady beeping of the heart monitor. It was the sound of life, his life, something he wasn't sure he'd ever hear again. He wasn't recovered, not physically, not mentally. The jungle wasn't done with him yet. The fear, the pain, the memories, they lingered like vines that refused to let go. But he was here, alive. He had crossed the impossible line between death and survival. The reckoning, what came next, would define who he became after the jungle. And for the first time since the explosion, he allowed himself to believe he might have a future worth fighting for. Ronald's story is more than a tale of survival. It is a reminder of what the human spirit is capable of when every odd is stacked against it. In the silent hours after he was rescued, doctors and soldiers alike tried to understand how a man with a shattered leg, severe blood loss, and a spreading infection managed to crawl 25 miles through hostile terrain. But Ronald himself never claimed to be special. He always said the same thing: "I just didn't want to die there." That simple sentence became the core of his legacy. For weeks after the rescue, he fought a new battle: recovery. His body, pushed beyond human limits, had to be rebuilt, piece by piece. His leg required multiple surgeries, and the infection nearly took him again. The emotional weight of his ordeal surfaced in unexpected moments. The sound of distant thunder mimicking artillery, the rustle of leaves reminding him of the jungle shifting around him, but he kept moving forward, 1 inch at a time, just like he had in the jungle. Ronald would later speak about his survival, not with pride, but with a quiet clarity. He said the jungle stripped him down to the truth of who he was. No rank, no uniform, no mission briefing. Only a man and the choice to fight for one more minute, then one more, then one more. That is why his story continues to echo long after the war ended, because it is not just a military story. It is a human story, a story of resilience, raw courage, and the will to crawl forward even when the world tells you it's over. Ronald's survival forced the military to reevaluate evacuation protocols. It exposed failures in communication, leadership breakdowns, and the dangerous assumption that a missing soldier is always a fallen one. His ordeal changed procedures, saved future lives, and reminded everyone that until you see a body, you keep searching. And yet, when asked how he survived, he never spoke about heroism. He spoke about hope, tiny, stubborn hope. The hope that someone might still be looking for him. The hope that his story wouldn't end in the dirt of a forgotten trail. The hope that if he could just keep crawling, life would give him one more chance. Today, Ronald's journey stands as one of the most unbelievable survival feats in military history. But more importantly, it stands as proof of what any person can endure when they refuse to give up. And if you're listening to this story right now, remember this: when everything falls apart, when the world goes dark, when you think you've reached your breaking point, you might still have one more inch inside you. Sometimes, that's all you need. If stories like Ronald's inspire you, stories of real human resilience, forgotten heroes, and unbelievable survival, then you're in the right place. Our mission is to bring these hidden histories back to life. If you want more true stories just like this one, consider subscribing to the channel, not just to support the project, but because you never know which story might change the way you see the world. And if you'd like this video to reach more people who need to hear it, a simple like or comment helps more than you can imagine. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes survival starts with a single inch forward.